Obinna never believed in spirits, until the night he saw something that changed everything. It started small, a whisper in the wind, a candle that flickered even when there was no breeze. At first, he thought it was nothing, just his mind playing tricks. But then he heard footsteps in the empty hallway, soft, careful, like someone was watching him, but hiding in the shadows. His grandmother once told him a story about the dead, how they never truly leave. She warned him never to say their names at night, never to call them, never to listen when they whisper. Obinna laughed at her stories. He said ghosts weren't real. But that night, as he lay in bed, the air turned ice cold. The shadows moved, and something was standing in the corner of his room. By the time he understood the truth, it was already too late. Would you dare to stay in a house where the dead still whisper? Let me take you into a story that will haunt you long after this video ends. The road to Arachuku was long and quiet. The trees on both sides of the path stood tall, their branches twisting like the arms of spirits reaching for something unseen. Obinna sat in the back of the bus, staring out the window. The sky was gray, the air heavy, like the earth itself was mourning. Mama Nkechi was gone. She had lived for over 80 years, a woman full of wisdom and mystery. People in the village feared her, but Obinna loved her stories. She would sit outside at night, her voice low and serious, telling tales of spirits, curses, and things that walked in the dark. But those were just stories, weren't they? The bus came to a stop. Obinna stepped out, adjusting the bag on his shoulder. The air smelled of damp earth and burning firewood. He looked ahead and saw the house, the old family house. It stood tall and tired, its walls cracked with age. The wooden doors had strange carvings, patterns too worn to understand. Shadows danced on the walls from the flickering oil lamps inside. Beyond the house, the forest stretched deep, dark, and endless. His cousin, Ebera, was waiting at the entrance. She was wearing a long black dress, her face pale with sadness. She looked at him, then at the house. "You came," she said softly. Obinna nodded. "How could I not?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Mama warned us for a reason. Some things should remain untouched." Obinna frowned. "What are you talking about?" Before Ebra could answer, a loud voice cut through the air. "My man, you finally made it." Obinna turned. Nana, his best friend, was walking toward him, grinning. He was always full of energy, always laughing, always ready for an adventure. "Come on," Nana said, throwing an arm around Obinna. "It's just a funeral. No need to look so scared." Obinna forced a smile, but something felt off. The house, the air, the silence. It was all wrong. That was when he saw it. At the back of the compound, past the flickering lamps and the cracked walls, there was a door, a single locked door. It was small, old, and covered in dust, but it sent a shiver down his spine. His grandmother once told him never to enter that part of the house. And now, standing in front of it, he understood why. Pause, sound of wind rustling. A door creaking open somewhere in the distance. Obinna had always believed ghosts were just stories. But this house, this night, would prove him wrong. The funeral was quiet. Too quiet. The villagers sat under the large irako tree, their faces dark with sadness. Smoke from the burning incense curled into the air, mixing with the scent of wet earth. The old women sang in low voices, their chants floating like whispers from another world. Obinna stood beside Ebera, watching as they lowered Mama Nkechi's body into the ground. The coffin was made of thick, dark wood, and as it disappeared into the earth, a strange chill ran down his spine. He folded his arms, trying to shake off the feeling. Then he saw her, an old woman. She stood at the edge of the gathering, away from the others. Her skin was wrinkled like old leather, and her eyes, deep, dark, knowing, never left him. Obinna swallowed. He didn't know her. He had never seen her before. Slowly, she walked toward him. The crowd seemed not to notice. The singing, the crying, all of it faded as she stopped in front of him. Without a word, she held out her hand. And it was a wooden staff, smooth and dark, carved with strange symbols. "Take it," she said, her voice raspy, like dry leaves crunching underfoot. Obinna hesitated. "What is this?" "Protection." "Protection from what?" The woman didn't answer. Instead, she leaned in close, her breath cold against the skin. "They know you are here," she whispered. "Keep the staff close and do not open the door." Obinna's heart pounded. "What door?" But before he could get an answer, the woman turned and walked away. By the time he blinked, she was gone. That night, the air felt heavy. The house was silent. The kind of silence that made your skin crawl. Obinna sat in the main room with Nana and Ebra. The oil lamp flickered, throwing long, shaky shadows on the wall. Ebra was reading from a small prayer book, her lips moving silently. Nana, as usual, was not taking anything seriously. He threw a piece of bread in his mouth and grinned. "You saw the woman, right?" Nana asked, chewing loudly. "The one who gave you that stick?" Obinna looked at the staff beside him. He had placed it on the wooden table, but something about it made him uneasy. She said it was for protection. Obinna muttered. Nana laughed. "Protection from what?" "Ghosts." Ebra shot him a sharp look. "Don't joke about that." Nana rolled his eyes. "Come on, Ebra. You're too scared of these things." Ebra didn't answer. She just looked toward the back of the house, the place where the forbidden room was. Then it happened. Boom, boom, boom. A loud knocking. The three of them froze. The sound came from the back of the house, from the locked door. Obinna felt his breath catch in his throat. Ebra's hands gripped the prayer book tightly. She whispered, "Mama warned us." The oil lamp flickered. The shadows on the wall stretched and twisted. Then silence. Obinna swallowed. His throat felt dry. "Did you hear that?" Nana smirked. "Let's check it out." Ebra grabbed his arm. "No, don't go." Nana scoffed. "It's just a door, Ebra." Obinna's heart was racing. He wanted to ignore it, to pretend it didn't happen. But something inside him, something deep and dark, wanted to know. Slowly, he stood up. Nana grinned. "Now we're talking." They walked toward the back of the house. Step by step, the wooden floor creaked under their feet. The air felt colder the closer they got. Then, Obinna saw something. Footsteps. Small, dusty footprints on the ground, leading to the door. His breath hitched. The prints stopped right in front of the locked door, but there was no one there. Obinna's fingers trembled as he reached out. Nana's voice was barely a whisper. "Go on. Open it." Obinna swallowed hard. His hand hovered over the handle. The oil lamp flickered wildly. The wind outside howled. The air was thick with something unseen. Then, the door creaked. On its own. Just a little. Just enough. A whisper slipped through the crack. Low. Soft. Calling his name. Obinna. The next day, the sun came up, but the house did not feel happy. The morning was cold and still. There was no warm light, only a gray sky. The birds did not sing, and even the wind whispered softly like a secret. Obinna woke up slowly. He sat on his small bed and rubbed his eyes. He saw that something was not right. On the table, a little cup had moved. A book that was lying still was now on the floor. It was as if the house was playing a strange game. In the big, old room, many things began to move. A small chair rocked back and forth without anyone touching it. A lamp danced on its own, its little light flickering like a tiny star. Even a few papers on a shelf fluttered in the air, as if they were alive. Obinna looked around, his eyes wide. Who moved these things? He wondered in a quiet voice. Obinna remembered the wooden staff that the old woman had given him at the funeral. He went to the table and picked it up with a trembling hand. But as soon as his fingers touched the wood, he felt a hot, burning pain. It was as if the staff was angry. He quickly put it down. "It hurts," he cried, his voice small and scared. The burning did not hurt like a cut. It was a strange burning magic that made his skin feel fire. Later, when the sun was still hiding behind gray clouds, Obinna went outside with Ebra. They walked slowly on the dusty ground. In the far corner of the compound, Obinna saw a dark shape. It looked like a man, but It was only a shadow. When he took a few steps closer, the dark shape melted away like a puff of smoke. "I saw someone," he whispered. But when Ebra looked, there was no one. The dark figure was gone. That night, the house felt even weirder. Ebra went to sleep, but her dreams were not sweet. In her sleep, she saw Mama Nkechi. Her grandmother was there, with kind eyes and a sad smile. Mama Nkechi raised her hand as if to stop someone and whispered, "Do not go there. Stay away." Ebra woke up with tears in her eyes. She sat up in bed, shaking, and said softly, "Mama tried to tell us something in my dream." Nana, who always laughed at the strange thing, said, "It is just the wind and shadows. Nothing to fear." He smiled and teased, even when the house was acting odd. But soon, Nana was not with them. He vanished. Obinna and Ebra looked everywhere in the big house. They called out, "Nana, where are you?" Time passed slowly. The minutes felt like hours. The house was full of soft, low hums and strange whispers. No one could find him. After many long hours, Nana finally came back. But he was not the same friend they had known. His eyes looked empty and far away. His usual smile was gone, and his voice sounded soft and different. Standing in the quiet room, Nana looked at Obinna and whispered in a voice that was not his own, "It knows you are here." His words made everyone shiver. The sound of his whisper mixed with a low hum that filled the house. All day and night, the strange sounds grew louder. There was a low hum, like a giant, soft engine hidden in the walls. Distant voices, soft and twisted, could be heard. They came like a song that was sad and eerie. Every time the voices spoke, the wind would join in, and the whole house felt alive with whispers. Sometimes, when Obinna closed his eyes, he could almost hear someone calling his name softly. Obinna, the sound was faint, like the rustle of leaves, but it was there. The moving objects, the burning staff, the dark shadow, the nightmares, and the changed friend made the house feel like a place of secrets. Every step in the old house was full of questions. Who or what was playing with them? Why did the staff burn? Who was the dark shadow that disappeared so fast? And why did Nana come back with a different look in his eyes? Obinna, Ebra, and even the quiet Nana now knew that something was not right. The house was full of magic and mystery that they did not understand. The air was heavy with secrets, and every whisper, every hum, and every creak of the floor made them wonder what would happen next. The wind howled, the voices grew louder, and the night came again. The friends huddled close, holding each other, as the strange sounds of the house filled the dark rooms. In that deep, dark night, nothing was safe, and every sound promised that the mystery was far from over. Obinna stood before the forbidden door. His heart beat very fast. He looked at Ebra and Nana. They were all very scared, but Obinna felt he must know what was inside. He took a deep breath and slowly turned the heavy knob. The door creaked open a little. A cold, soft wind blew out from inside the room. Inside, the room was dark and very cold. In one corner, there was a big wooden coffin. The coffin was old and made of dark wood. It was empty. No one was inside. The room smelled of old wood and dust. It was very quiet. In the middle of the room, there was a large mirror. The mirror was tall and heavy, and it was covered with a soft cloth. The cloth was dark and old, like it had been there for many years. Ebra stepped forward and said in a small, trembling voice, "Please, do not touch the mirror. Mama said it is dangerous." But Nana, who was acting very strangely, did not listen. With a strange smile on his face, he walked up to the mirror. Slowly, he reached out and pulled the cloth away. The cloth fell to the floor with a soft thud. Now the mirror was bare. At first, the mirror was still. It did not show their faces. Instead, it showed a dark, empty space. Then, something very strange happened. In the mirror, a shadowy figure appeared. It was not Obinna, not Ebra, and not Nana. It was a dark shape with big, deep eyes. The figure looked as if it was watching them very closely. The candlelights in the room started to flicker. They danced on the walls. The light went on and off, making the room even darker. The air grew very cold, and Obinna could see his breath. The shadowy figure in the mirror began to move slowly, as if it were coming to life. Suddenly, a loud bang burst out from the mirror. The sound was so loud that it made them all jump. The soft whispering in the room turned into a loud, strange chant. The words did not make sense. They were like a scary song carried by the wind. The dark figure in the mirror slowly stepped forward. It was as if the mirror was a door and the figure was coming out. Nana saw it, and his eyes grew very big with fear. He tried to scream, but his mouth did not make a sound. It was as if an unseen force had taken his voice away. Obinna and Ebra looked at Nana with wide, scared eyes. They tried to step back, but the dark figure came closer and closer. With every slow step, the candlelight flickered more and the room grew even colder. The figure's eyes shone in the dim light, and it reached out as if to grab them. At that moment, the door behind them slammed shut with a loud bang. Obinna, Ebra, and the silent Nana were trapped in the dark room. They could only hear the deep, low hum of the strange chant and the pounding of their own hearts. The mirror, now empty of its cloth, still showed the dark figure, but it no longer looked like a picture. It was as if the figure had come to live. The air felt heavy and the room was filled with a strange, eerie light that made the shadows move on the walls. Every whisper of the wind and every creak of the old floor made the friends tremble. Slowly, the dark figure moved closer to Obinna. Its steps were soft, but they made the floor creak. Obinna felt as if the figure's cold eyes were telling him a secret he could not understand. Ebra clutched his hand very tight. Nana stood still, his face frozen with fear, his eyes wide as if he was trapped in a bad dream. Then the figure did something even more frightening. It lifted its hand and pointed at Obinna. Obinna shivered. The candlelights flickered wildly, and for a moment, the chanting grew so loud it filled the whole room. A deep, heavy sound echoed like a giant falling down. In that moment, the dark figure stepped completely out of the mirror. It came slowly, as if it were leaving a long, sad dream. Nana tried once more to scream, but his mouth stayed still. Obinna and Ebra looked at each other in deep fear. They wanted to run to get away from the terrible sight, but when they tried to move, the door slammed shut again. It closed with a force that made the whole room shake. The mirror was now dark and silent, and the cloth lay crumpled on the floor. The only thing that moved was the dark figure standing in the center of the room. Its deep eyes watched them as if it held all the secrets of the old house. The room was filled with a low hum, mixed with strange, distant whispers that grew louder for a short moment. Time felt very slow. The friends were trapped. The air was so cold that it made their skin feel like ice. The only light came from the weak flicker of the candle. Every shadow in the room seemed to dance and move as if alive. Obinna's heart pounded hard in his chest. Ebra's eyes were full of tears, and Nana's face was pale and scared. Then, the dark figure took another step. It moved so slowly that it was almost like a dream, yet it was very real. It came so close to Obinna that he could see the shape of its face. The figure did not smile. It only looked at him with deep, dark eyes that seemed to tell a very sad story. Nana's silent scream grew in his eyes, though he could not make a sound. The dark figure then opened its mouth. A deep, low sound came out, a sound that seemed to come from far away, from deep inside the earth. This sound filled the room and made the walls shake a little. Obinna felt the sound in his bones, as if it were calling him. The candlelights flickered one last time, and then went out. The room became completely dark. In the darkness, Obinna felt something cold touch his shoulder. He turned quickly, but there was nothing there. The darkness was like a thick blanket, and the only sound was a low hum of the strange chant that still echoed in the room. Ebra clutched Obinna's hand. "We must be brave," she whispered, even though her voice shook. But just then, a soft, deep whisper filled the room. It was as if the dark figure was speaking directly to them, but the words were too soft to understand. The door was still shut. Obinna and Ebra tried to move toward it, to escape from the dark figure, but the door would not budge. It was as if an invisible hand held it closed. They ran to the door, but every time they tried to open it, it slammed shut again with a loud, scary sound. Then, in the pitch black, Obinna saw a faint light. It was coming from a small crack near the door. He thought, Maybe we can get out. But just as he reached for the door, the dark figure took another slow step forward. Its eyes shone very brightly in the faint light, and Obinna could feel its cold breath near his face. The chanting sound grew louder, and it was mixed with a deep, strange hum. The dark figure pointed at Obinna again. The sound of the heartbeat in the room was fast and loud. Nana, still standing quietly, looked at the dark figure with such fear that his eyes seemed to cry without tears. Then something happened very fast. A sudden, loud bang echoed in the room. The soft whispering turned into loud, jumbled chants. The dark figure took one more step out of the mirror, and its eyes met Obinna's in a moment of deep sadness and terror. Nana tried to scream again, but his mouth stayed still, as if it was closed by an unseen force. Obinna and Ebra looked around, desperate to find a way out. They ran toward the door, but it slammed shut with a thunderous sound. They could not leave. In that very moment, the dark figure stood in the middle of the room, its eyes full of secrets and pain. The room grew so still that even the sound of the wind outside seemed to stop. Then, suddenly, everything went dark. The screen of their world cut to black. There was no light, no sound. Only a deep, heavy silence that made every heartbeat sound like a giant drum in the quiet night. And in that long, silent darkness, the story seemed to pause, leaving the friends trapped in a moment of fear that would last forever. Next morning, the sun rose slowly. But the house was very, very quiet. The old house was empty. All the rooms were dark and still. There was no sign of life inside. The big mirror that had shown the dark, strange figure was gone. It had vanished like a puff of smoke. Obinna woke up outside the compound. He sat up on the soft, cold grass, not knowing how he'd come to be there. His head hurt, and his heart pounded slowly. He did not remember the night before, only the cold fear and the strange sounds. The world around him looked different now, and he felt very alone. He stood up and walked slowly along the path that led to the house. Every step was heavy, and the silence felt deep. As he passed by the old front door, he noticed something lie on the ground. It was Nana's phone. The screen was shattered, and the pieces of glass sparkled in the weak morning light like tiny, broken stars. Obinna picked it up with shaking hands. It was a sad reminder of what had happened. Further along, near the edge of the dark forest, Obinna saw something small and bright on the soft earth. It was Ebra's necklace. The delicate chain and pretty pendant were stained with red marks. The red marks looked like drops of blood. Obinna's eyes filled with tears as he picked it up. He did not know why it was there or what it meant, but it made him feel a deep, heavy sorrow. As Obinna walked back to the house, he looked at the family records that hung on the wall of the living room. These old books held the names and faces of everyone in his family. When he looked closely, he saw that the names of Nana and Ebra were gone. Their names had been erased, as if they had never existed. When he opened the family album, he found that their photos had vanished too. The pages were now missing the smiles of his dear friends. Obinna felt very small and very scared. He sat down on the cold, cracked steps of the house. He stared at the empty rooms and the silent doors. The house looked like a big secret, a secret that did not want to be told. The wind blew softly, and for a moment, it seemed to whisper among the old trees. Then, very softly, a chilling whisper reached Obinna's ear. The voice was like a cold wind, soft and clear. It said, "It's not over. You brought it back with you." Obinna's eyes grew wide. He did not understand the words. Were they a promise? A warning? The whisper was like a little ghost, carrying a secret that he could not see. He sat there for a long, long time, listening to the soft sound of his own heartbeat. The heartbeat was slow and deep, like a drum in a quiet room. The empty compound, the lost names, the shattered phone, and the stained necklace all told a story that was too strange to understand. The morning light grew a little brighter, but it did not warm his cold heart. The mystery of the dark night still lingered around him. Obinna wondered about his friends, about the mirror, and about the strange magic that had filled the house. He tried to remember the friendly faces of Nana and Ebra, but their smiles were now gone. It was as if they had never been there at all. Slowly, Obinna rose to his feet. With each step away from the empty compound, he felt a piece of the strange magic follow him. The whisper still echoed softly in his ears. "It's not over. You brought it back with you." The words were like a shadow that would never leave him. He walked away from the house, leaving behind a world of silent secrets. The trees whispered in the gentle wind, and the earth held the memory of that dark, mysterious night. Though the house was empty and the names of his friends had vanished from all the records, the strange magic was still with him, a silent promise that the story was not finished. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Obinna looked back one last time. The old compound stood silent and still, a place full of unanswered questions. The soft beat of his heart was the only sound left in the world. Then, slowly, the screen of his memory faded to black with one final, deep heartbeat. And so, the mystery stayed alive, leaving the world to wonder what would happen next. Now, dear friend, our scary story has come to an end, but the mystery is not finished. Let me tell you what we have seen. Obinna is all alone now. He woke up outside the old house. The house is empty, silent, and cold. The big mirror is gone, and it seems like magic took away the dark things from the room. But something very strange has happened. Nana and Ebra, who were once here with Obinna, have vanished. Nana's phone is broken into many tiny pieces, and Ebra's pretty necklace lies near the forest. The necklace is stained with red marks that look like drops of blood. It is as if no one remembers Nana or Ebra now. Their names have been erased from the family records, and even their photos have disappeared from the albums. It is like they were never here at all. But then, a cold, soft whisper reaches Obinna's ear. The whisper says, "It's not over. You brought it back with you." That whisper makes Obinna shiver, and it tells him that the mystery of the old house is still with him. He does not know what magic took his friends away. He feels lost and very sad. Now, I want to ask you, dear friend, what do you think happened to Nana and Ebra? Did the strange mirror take them away to another world? Or was there something else hiding in the forbidden room? A secret that came out when the mirror was uncovered? Maybe the whispering wind or the old magic of the house did something too strong for them. Think about the dark, empty room, the broken phone, and the red-stained necklace. The house was full of moving things, burning wood, and shadows that danced. Was it the mirror that stole their smiles and voices? Or did something else in the deep, dark house take them away? I would love to hear your thoughts. Did the mirror take them? Or do you think there was another secret in the forbidden room that made them vanish? Maybe the magic of the house is still living inside you now as you listen to this story. Maybe you have a brave idea or a wild theory about what happened that scary night. Please, tell me your theories in the comments below. Let me know what you think happened to Nana and Ebra, and share your ideas about the magic of the old house and the dark mirror. Your thoughts can make the story even more mysterious and exciting. Thank you for joining me on this spooky adventure. Your ideas are very important, and I cannot wait to read what you think. Let me know your theories in the comments. Dear friend, as you sit here with the memory of the empty house, the broken phone, and the red-stained necklace, remember the whisper that said, "It's not over. You brought it back with you." The magic and mystery of that night still live in our hearts. But now, I have one more secret to share with you. There's another tale that is even more strange and spooky. If you think this story was terrifying, wait until you hear the story of the boy who spoke to the dead for 7 days. Imagine a little boy, much like you, who could hear soft voices from long ago. For 7 long days, these voices, like gentle whispers in the night, spoke to him. They told him secrets about old times and shared stories that were both beautiful and scary. The night was full of magic, with shadows dancing on the walls and soft wind singing a strange song. In the next video, you will meet this brave boy. You will hear how he listened to the voices of the dead. He heard stories of ghosts, of hidden secrets, and of magic that was both kind and mysterious. His adventure will make you wonder about all the things that hide in the dark and all the secrets that the night holds. So, my little friend, if you like this spooky story and want to know more, please subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications so you will be the first to hear the next tale. Trust me, what is coming next is even more mysterious, even more chilling, and even more disturbing. Thank you for listening. Remember, Every whisper and every shadow holds a secret. And soon, we will explore the secret of the boy who spoke to the dead for 7 days. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because what's coming next is even more magical and even more scary. Until next time, keep your eyes wide open and listen carefully.